Thank you for tuning in. If we've never met before, my name is Debbie. I'm a registered kinesiologist. I truly believe exercise is one of the best things that you can do for your health. If we have met before, good job getting some exercise today. What I'm going to show you is a few exercises that you can do just using a resistance band. We're going to focus on the upper body today, so I'll show you 6 different exercises that you can just add into your daily routine. We're going to be using resistance bands, so if you don't have one at home, they're pretty easy to find. I've kind of seen them in all sorts of stores, whether it's Walmart, Canadian Tire. I've even seen them at the dollar store in some instances, so just keep your eyes out. They're pretty inexpensive. The ones that I'm going to be using today have a little handle on the end, which just make it a little bit easier to hold on for certain exercises. If your resistance band doesn't have a handle, that's okay too. They're all made a little bit differently, so whatever you have, you can make it work, and I'll show you different things you can do as well with these bands. Depending on the exercise, sometimes it's nice to have a few options. So this resistance band that I have here, it's actually a completely different model. So even though it's the same color, it's actually a heavier resistance. So if an exercise was a little bit too easy and I wanted to challenge myself a little bit more, I can go ahead and grab this harder band just so I can make the most out of my workout. So I'll leave that off to the side. And if an exercise is a little bit easier, what I can do is use this band here, and then depending on the difficulty, I can kind of hold it in different spots to make it easier or harder. So there's always ways to work around an exercise, but as always, if something doesn't feel right for you, if something causes you pain, just stop doing that exercise. You could be doing more damage than good, especially if you have an injury already somewhere. So just listen to what your body's trying to tell you and figure out what's appropriate for you. Exercise number 1, we're gonna just start off nice and easy with one of the basics, and what we're gonna focus on is our arms. So we're gonna be doing a bicep curl. So you're gonna feel this on the front of your arms here. So I'm going to go ahead, step on my band, and holding my hands to the side, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my palms out, and I'm going to just bring my hand up to my shoulder. So when we're doing this exercise, and I'll turn on the side so that you can see, we want to make sure that the elbows are staying close to the body. So when we're moving this band up, the arms shouldn't be going up with it. Because we're focusing on our bicep muscle, what we want to feel is the contraction as we bring the hand up towards the shoulder and then back down. So when we're doing this, depending on the band that you have, if you want to make this a little bit harder, you can actually go out a little bit wider. This will kind of create a little bit more tension on the band. If you find it's too hard, you can actually bring your feet a little bit closer together to give yourself a little bit less tension as you bring those handles up towards the shoulders. If you find that this is still too easy, you can always hold the band a little bit lower. So again, the more tension you have on the band, or the shorter you make it, the harder it's going to be. So you can go ahead and do the same thing. Just remember to keep those elbows at your side as we bend, bring that resistance band up, and then back down. Another thing to mention as well, when you're doing these exercises, you want to control the movement both on the way up and down. So if you're doing your bicep curl and you're just kind of letting it drop at the bottom, we want to feel complete tension. So as we go up, control the movement nice and slow, and same thing on the way down. There's 2 parts of any exercise when we're working a muscle, and that's the contraction part and the lengthening part. So we want to make sure that we're getting both in. So don't allow speed to kind of take over as we go through this quickly. Remember, nice and slow, control that movement down, and then bring that band back up. So that's our bicep curl. All right, exercise number 2. What we're gonna do next is our tricep kickbacks. So with the first exercise, we already worked out the front of the arm, so we focused on the bicep. So what we want to do with the next exercise, we're going to actually focus on the back of the arm. And now this is a perfect exercise to do back to back because you're already in a similar position. So again, standing on that band, we're going to grab, and I'm actually going to grab a little bit lower because I needed a bit more tension on my band. So I'm not using my handles right now, but I'm going to grab just underneath them. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend forward just a little bit, keep a little bend in my knees to keep my low back safe, and then with my elbows bent, I'm just going to go ahead and straighten my arms behind me. with the tricep kickback, what we want to feel is tension on the back of the arm. So as we kick our hands back behind us, we should feel tension right along the back of here. Now, just like with the first exercise, we want to be careful with our elbows. So the elbows are going to stay pinned to our side, and we don't want them moving as we go back and forth. So keep those elbows tucked in nice. We're just moving the hands forward and then back, using that tricep to extend the forearm and the hand. Awesome. So depending on your resistance band, if you find that the resistance band that you have is too tight, you can try just doing one side at a time. And this just allows you to choose how much distance you have or how much tension you have on the band. So you can go ahead and make it a little bit longer. This will be easier for you as you kick that arm back behind you. Or if you want to make it a little bit more difficult, again, you're just going to shorten the band and then do the same thing. All right, next exercise. So we focused already on the arms, we got the biceps, we got the triceps. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and work on the shoulders. Again, same position as the other two. We're gonna go ahead and stand in the middle of our band. And what we're gonna do with the lateral raise is, just as it says in the name, we're gonna bring the band out to the side. So the band that I'm using right now is actually a little bit longer. So this is actually perfect for me. If the band that I was using was actually a lot shorter, it might be hard. You might feel kind of right around here, a lot of tension as you bring the arms up. So you can always, again, do one side. Go ahead, give yourself a little bit more space as you bring the resistance band out to the side. Now you want to make sure when you're doing this exercise, again, we're focusing on the way up as well as on the way down. So we're going to go nice and slow with this. Bring those hands up. And we don't want the hands to go past the shoulders. I often see people kind of doing, this sort of thing where they're reaching up overhead. And that can actually put a lot of strain on the shoulder, especially if you've had any injuries before or if you don't have that range of motion to do that. So we just want to keep those hands at the shoulder height. And trust me, you're going to feel this. I say often that our shoulders definitely are kind of one of the weaker muscles in our body because we just don't do a lot of overhead movement. So we don't often move things up top. We kind of keep things a little bit at eyesight. We don't necessarily always have to kind of reach for heavy things above head. So the shoulders don't often get as strong as something like the biceps. So lateral raises is one of the best ones you can do to really strengthen up those shoulders. All right, so exercise number 4. What we're gonna do is a bent over row. There's many variations of a row, but it's one of my favorite exercises because it really targets your back. So specifically with the bent over row, we're going to be focusing on our upper back. And we're going to set ourselves up in the same position as the other exercises. So bringing that band underneath the feet, we're going to stand on them. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to grab my resistance band a little bit lower, just so I create some tension, and then I'm going to stand up nice and tall. The most important thing with this exercise is to make sure that you're in the proper form. You don't want to hurt your back, especially if you're just going to roll forward, and if you take a look, your back's not straight, and you can really kind of, again, do more damage than good. So what we're going to do instead is we want to make sure that we're going to stand nice and tall, we're going to roll the shoulders back, and how we're going to get into our position is we're going to actually push the hips back. And I want the chest to be parallel to the ground here. And this just ensures that our back stays nice and straight. Again, I'm holding the bands a little bit lower so I have some tension. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull these bands up. So I imagine that I'm driving with my elbows up towards the ceiling. I'm keeping my elbows tucked in. So when you take a look from the front, I'm not keeping my elbows up here, I'm keeping them to my side as I pull that resistance band up. Now I'm making sure that when I'm doing this exercise, I'm not looking straight forward. If I were to keep my gaze right in front of me, this can be really awkward for the neck, so we want to make sure that we're keeping it nice and easy. We're looking at the ground, keep those elbows tucked into your side, and we're just going to pull that band right up. So really focusing on the shoulder blades here. So we're controlling this movement. As we bring those hands up, I want you to try to squeeze those shoulder blades down and together a little bit more. Just like that. Awesome. All right, so we're almost there. We got 2 more exercises to go. Our next exercise is a chest press. So there's 2 variations that you can do this. The easiest one, you can go ahead, grab that band right behind you. We're gonna put it underneath our arms, just so that it doesn't slip. But what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna wrap this band around my hands a few times, and I'm just gonna press straight forward. So we're using our chest muscles here to initiate this move. And what you can also do, if you take a look at the side, you can see the same thing. What you can also do, if you have something sturdy that you can wrap your band around, I'm gonna try to do this here. You can actually do a similar move. So I have my band secured behind me on the treadmill, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna press forward. So similar move, but you can feel the exercise a little bit more with this variation, because the more you step out, you're gonna create more tension on that band, and it's just gonna get a little bit harder. Awesome. So that's the chest press, nice and easy. And our last exercise, we're gonna do a nice exercise for the upper back. Again, one of my favorites. I love exercising the back muscles. So this is something that I call a pull apart. And what we're focusing again on that upper back, we're gonna grab our band somewhere in the middle. Hands are gonna be about shoulder height here. And depending on where you're holding this band, this exercise is gonna either feel easier or harder. So the wider we hold this grip, the easier it's gonna be, because there's less resistance as you pull the band apart. And then the closer you bring your hands together, it's just gonna get a little bit more challenging. Again, we want to make sure we're set up properly before we begin. So roll those shoulders back. We don't want, these shoulders up here by the ears. We want to relax them. We're going to hold the band out to our side. And as we pull that band apart, again, we're focusing on those shoulder blades. So we're squeezing the shoulder blades together and then letting them come apart as the hands get closer together. So again, we're just pulling that band apart, squeeze those shoulder blades together, and then bring them back slowly. So control again here with these resistance bands. We don't want them to just come together. We want to feel the move on the way out and on the way in. Your shoulders might get a little bit tired here holding your hands in this position, so you can bring them down a little bit lower as well. Just make sure that your shoulders don't get shrugged up as you get tired. So drop them, relax, pull that band apart, and don't forget to breathe. So that's it for our resistance band workout. You can go ahead, add these moves into your regular routine, or if you have time and you want to do all of these in one little circuit, I'm gonna actually leave some information down below how many reps and sets to do. It's gonna be different for everyone. The most important thing is that you just listen to your body and do what's appropriate for you. If an exercise is harder, you're just gonna do a little bit less of it, and then over time you might notice that it's gonna start to feel a little bit easier. So thanks for watching, and let me know if you give it a try. Bye.
I want the best.